And welcome in this week. Glad to have you along with us here. It's Game On, brought to you, as always, by Chattanooga State. Glad to have you with us. We got a whole lot to get into today. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff we want to try to get to today. We'll start with a couple of headlines of some things that have happened and things that are coming up here, including Super Bowl 50, which is set for a week from Sunday. So you still got one more week. This week you get the horrible Pro Bowl, which is a joke, and then next week you get the 50th Super Bowl that is set. Panthers, Broncos, Cam Newton, Peyton Manning in this one. Broncos are going to wear white jerseys in this Super Bowl. They have worn orange in the past, the years that they were destroyed in those Super Bowls in the 70s and in the 80s. They wore orange. This time they will wear the white uniforms. Panthers, by the way, will wear black jerseys and silver pants. So that's the way they'll look. Super Bowl 50 is all set to go out in Santa Clara, California. Surprising to see how well the Broncos played. I mean, defensively against Tom Brady, they were phenomenal. They had like 23 hits on Tom Brady. I mean, they beat him up pretty good, and they ended up winning that game, and now they're headed to the Super Bowl. And Carolina has just been a juggernaut the last couple of weeks with the way they have ran away from people. So that is coming up now 1 week from Sunday. We'll talk a little bit of football today, or a little bit of NFL football. But then coming up next week, we're going to do a whole bunch of Super Bowl 50 stuff. I mean, a whole bunch of Super Bowl 50 stuff. So we'll talk about that. There's been a lot of stuff with this being the 50th anniversary of the Super Bowl. The NFL released their 50th anniversary all Super Bowl team. Tom Brady was not on that team, by the way. He was not the quarterback. Joe Montana was. Chuck Noll of the Steelers from back in the 70s, he was named as the head coach. Charles Haley, who won 5 Super Bowls with the Cowboys and the 49ers, was named to that team as well. But your all Super Bowl team was announced today by the NFL. They're doing a lot of stuff. The NFL Network has actually gone back, and I want to say we talked about this, maybe it was 2 weeks ago here, where the NFL Network has gone back and they have actually been able to piece together all of the TV footage from Super Bowl I to where you can actually see every play of Super Bowl I, which was really kind of weird because that was it was broadcast on 2 different networks. So there were actually 2 different broadcasts of that first Super Bowl because one network had the AFL, that was before the merger, and one network had the AFL rights and the other network had the NFL rights. So you had 2 different networks that actually broadcast Super Bowl I. Back then, TV stations, for the most part, didn't keep a lot of their programming. It wasn't readily available where you could just pull it up. Everything was recorded on these big reels, and over time, they would re-record over those reels. So, Super Bowl I might have gotten recorded over by, The Tonight Show, or maybe it was, whatever, picking it, Barney Miller, All in the Family, you name a show. At some point in time, it was probably taped on one of those big rolls of tape that ultimately meant that there was not a lot of Super Bowl I footage out there because nobody had DVRs, nobody had VCRs even at that point. So those games, that first Super Bowl wasn't saved. And then they started finding bits and pieces of it. A TV not a reporter, but a guy that worked master control, I think, in a TV station back in the 60s, had recorded the game, or at least part of it, and had saved it on this old, again, these big, thick, 3/4-inch tape, and had brought it home. It was in his attic. The guy passes away. His son starts going through the attic, and they find a good portion of what you see on this NFL Network broadcast. I still haven't seen it yet. I've missed it. I know they've showed it a couple of times now, and I'm sure you'll probably see it again here over the next week to 10 days. I wanted to be able to see it and haven't seen it yet. I've heard mixed reviews about it, but to be able to go back and see it, especially at that era and that time of television, which is certainly a far, far cry from the 50-plus inch high-definition TVs that are available today, not to mention all the cameras. I think CBS at that Broncos-Patriots game Sunday used 65 cameras in that game, including 36 of them in the upper level of the stadium there in Denver. So things have certainly changed an awful lot, but I think it's neat that somebody had the forethought to save and hold on to Super Bowl I. Nobody knew it was going to turn into what it turned into, and that tape survived, and that's a large part of what you see. There were a few other things that they were able to piece it together from other spots. This is not the only time that something like this has happened. I think it was Jack Benny, maybe, or was it Bing Crosby? One of them, when they passed, they found some tape of one game of the World Series from back in the 1950s or maybe the early 60s. Was one of those that was maybe involved the Yankees or the Dodgers or somebody. Anyway, one of those guys had saved that stuff because they had taped it, and it ended up the MLB network rather some years ago reshowed it, and I forget now which one it was, and I forget kind of what the whole scope around that game was. I don't know if I want to say it was Don Larson's perfect game in a World Series, but don't hold me to that. But I do know that piece of footage that had thought to have been lost was actually found. And again, I can't remember, Bing Crosby, Jack Benny, one of those guys. It was found when they passed. They found the tape. A couple other things that are going on. You got the Pro Bowl happening this weekend. Again, I'm not a Pro Bowl guy. I find it to be a bore and a waste of time. The Senior Bowl is also set for this weekend. That is not a bore, and that is not a waste of time, especially if you enjoy the NFL, you enjoy college football, you enjoy the NFL draft and following all that goes into that. Here you go. You get a chance to actually see these guys on the field. College seniors from around the country invited to participate. Phil Savage, Alabama's color analyst on their radio broadcast with Eli Gold. Phil Savage is the guy who heads this up. He's the executive director of the Senior Bowl. He's a former quarterback at the University of the South up on Mont Eagle Mountain. And Phil Savage is the guy that heads this thing up. Fantastic event and a great game. If you ever get a chance to see it, you should, if you ever get a chance to see it in person, check it out. You can watch it. I think the NFL Network will have it coming up this weekend. Also, Matty Mock, if you haven't heard that yet, has been removed from his scholarship at the University of Missouri. They basically kicked him off the team. If you followed anything about this kid, he's been a head case. He's been in a lot of trouble. There's this video that surfaced that was of Matty Mock snorting cocaine. Now they say, well, that was an old video. Missouri said that didn't have anything to do with why they let him go or why he was kicked out of school or kicked off the football team. But they say that it was about his more recent conduct. Every time the guy's been suspended from the team, it's been because of drug use. Now he gets booted off completely by new head coach Dave Odom, who said, enough of that. Now, also, one other quick note here before we take a break. The Georgia High School Athletic Association has put out their final reclassifications. They do this every 4 years. They go through, reclassify. Some schools move up, some move down, some move into new regions, some stay where they are. So you've got our Armuchee, Chattooga, Coosa, Dade County, Gordon Central, Model, Pepperell, and Rockmart are all in that Region 7 AA. Hopefully we can learn a little more about this. We'll visit with the head football coach at Dade County and Bradley Warren as we continue on. Glad to have you with us today. It is Game On here on KWN TV, and it's brought to you as always by Chattanooga State. Hang on.
Life is like a friendly game filled with choices. So, will you choose to soar above, or will you crash and burn? Sometimes we make bad choices, but one very smart choice is getting a degree from Chattanooga State, like engineering technology or one from our award-winning nursing program. Make the smart choice, Chat State.
Little Caesars is your game day party headquarters.
Pizza.
Right now at Little Caesars in Trenton and in Kimball, check out the super deals for your game day on party-size pizzas, the classic round pizzas, and the deep dish pizza. Get 3 large classic rounds for just $15, or 3 large deep dish pizzas for just $24. And the deals just get better from there. Little Caesars, 4651 Highway 136 West in Trenton, and 411 Kimball Crossing in Kimball. Looking for that next new-to-you ride? Well, Rayburn Cloud at Cloud Auto Sales has just what you're looking for. Check out an 08 VW Passat, 2.0 4-liter turbo, real nice, only $5,995. How about an 04 Ford F-250 Super Duty 4x4, 5.4-liter V8, runs and drives great, only $6,995. Or an 04 Pontiac 5, gets great gas mileage, only $3,995. See Rayburn Cloud today at Cloud Auto Sales, Alabama Highway 71 in Higdon, 597-3273, or like us on Facebook for Cloud Auto Sales. Get big savings now with Tennessee Valley Net. Tennessee Valley Net's digital television, telephone service, and high-speed internet is now available in many areas of Dade County and expanding to other areas like Edgewood, Piney, Lake Hills, Sligo, and New Salem. Digital television packages are available, including over 200 channels. High-speed internet services with 30 meg upload and download available now from TVN. Residential and commercial packages are available. Call now to see if TVN is available in your neck of the woods. 706-657-4367 or visit tvn.net. Hey, why not come make a day or two of it at the I-59 Flea Market Mall? Open Saturday and Sunday at exit 231 off I-59 between Trenton and Fort Payne. Find anything and everything at the I-59 Flea Market Mall, including antiques, furniture, jewelry, clothing, electronics, computer games, CDs, DVDs, collectibles, glassware, and the list goes on and on, all at the I-59 Flea Market Mall. Parking is free and we're open rain or shine. Come every weekend and see what's new at the I-59 Flea Market Mall. Exit 231 off I-59 between Trenton and Fort Payne. Open 8 to 3 Saturday and Sunday.
KWN's Live and Local TV, the home of the Jackson County Tournament. Join us for tournament action right here on your Live and Local TV station, KWN, as the Jackson County boys and girls battle it out both JV and varsity. You'll watch all the games right here. It's the Jackson County Basketball Tournament right here on KWN TV.
Check your local guide for times and days of the Jackson County Tournament broadcast on KWN TV.
It's coming soon. Boss Business Center at 29490 Alabama Highway 71 in Bryant. We'll have school and office supplies, shipping supplies, notary services, copy and fax services, community postal services available too. You can also renew any of your Jackson County auto tax and pay your property taxes at the new Boss Business Center that'll be opening soon at North Sand Mountain. Call 597-3829 for more information. The Boss Business Center just north of North Sand Mountain School.
Welcome back. It's Game On, brought to you by Chattanooga State here on KWN TV. Let's head out on the phones and welcome in. He is the head football coach and athletic director at Dade County High School. Coach Bradley Warren joins us for a few minutes as the GHSA went through their final reclassification. Coach, and I know there's plenty of coaches that are to the, what would that be, to the east of you maybe, in a couple of those 6 AAA coaches that aren't real happy about the way this thing played out. Not a lot of drama for Dade County in all this, was there?
No, there was not a lot of drama for our 7 AA region. We had some tough decisions on the executive committee as to where to move people like Cartersville and what to do with one of the largest regions in the North Georgia, which was the AAA region.
I've got, what is it, 8 schools, 9 schools that are in your region?
And Dave, we lost Gordon Lee and Darlington and picked up Gordon Central and Rockmart.
So that leaves you.
Pepperell.
Yeah, that leaves you with 8. Now, what does this do for you guys from a scheduling standpoint? Do you like the idea of having seven opponents that are set, or would you rather have more? Or would you rather have less?
No, we like the deal. What our goal was in the beginning was to have enough region games to fill 70% of the schedule or better, and then we wanted to pick up your traditional rivalry games for gate funds and revenue. So that's what we've done. We were pretty excited about it. As far as the placement, Chris, these kids, young men that will be playing this year, none of them were alive the last time a team in this region won the region championship. So it's minus a Calhoun, it's minus Darlington, and we're playing, 2 red light towns versus 3 red light towns. It's a pretty even matchup.
So then you like where you are then as far as that goes. You feel like you're matched up a little better rather than having to deal with Calhoun, which is a much larger area to begin with, much larger county, certainly.
It is. We feel pretty good about the draw and the quality that was placed up in the North Georgia region to keep us playing with similar populations. When you're picking a team out of 14,000 versus picking a team out of 60,000, there's a difference.
Sure. What other kind of things? And look, this reclassification affects more than just football. Now, we talked to you specifically about football, but you're the athletic director. How do the other sports respond to this? Basketball, boys and girls basketball has been very successful at Dade County, as has been baseball and softball over the years. How do they feel about these changes?
They're pretty excited as well. We travel a good bit at Dade because of our location. We're still traveling to Rome. We did pick up Rockmart, which will be south of us. That would be the 2 furthest games, in the region schedule would be between us. So I guess the only thing, to answer your question, it might change. You might see a Saturday game a little more often than you normally would.
Any other thing that is left? I know there's been some talk about moving tennis from a spring sport to a fall sport. What's going to happen with that? Is that discussion dead now?
There's nothing that's going on with that yet. It's still dead right now. It's going to stay the same. There's been a lot of people would like to see softball played in the same season as baseball, but in your Title IX gender equity books, if we move softball in the state of Georgia to a spring sport, there's really not anything for the young ladies to do in the fall except maybe cross country and cheerleading. So that's why it's in the fall.
Now, where do they put volleyball in Georgia?
Volleyball is in the fall, but it's there's a lot of schools in North Georgia that do not have it or have just got recently.
Gotcha. Anything else that's hanging out there from the GHSA? Is there anything that was unresolved, anything that was tabled that they're going to pick back up again and discuss? Are there other topics that are worth mentioning?
Yeah, there was one topic. I actually tabled it at the GHSA meeting. Riverside Military Academy, 97% of their students approximately are out of zone. They're a boarding school. So they were going from the already in a region that they could not compete in, they were going to get it bumped up to like Quad A. So I thought that we needed a separate rule to address a boarding school like that and to the equity of their level of play. So that one's on the table. And then dealing with single-sex gender schools like Benedictine, who is an all-boys school. You say, we only have 400 students. Well, in a regular school, that's 800. So they're
right.
actually, much larger than they appear. So some things like that are still a little bit unresolved.
Now, how much do they rely? How much input do you, as the athletic director at Dade County, how much input do you have? How much input do they seek from guys that are in positions like you are?
Well, Chris, funny you asked that. I've been elected. I'm on the state executive committee as one of the North Georgia reps, and so I have a seat among the 64 people that are there. So they do a great job of seeking input from us. In fact, if you're strong in an area, they'll put you on a subcommittee to work on problems in that. Right now, I'm on the football and baseball committees, and I think maybe next year I might be on the wrestling committee as well.
Now, how many guys from our area, from our end of North Georgia, are on this executive committee with you?
Let's see. You have the assistant superintendent down in Floyd County, Dr. Glenn White is the president of the GHSA. Then you have Dr. Maria Bradley, who is the principal at North Murray High School, and myself. And then you have Dr. Bruce Potts at Sonoraville. So that's the ones that are in this area.
Who addresses the broadcast or the media rights? Because I'll be honest with you, Coach, I've dealt with Georgia, I've dealt with Tennessee, and I've dealt a little bit, very little, but a little bit with Alabama over the years. The three states that we kind of touch here with this show, as far as that goes.
There's an entirely different committee that does that, and I'd be lying to you if I told you I'd sat in on one of those meetings. I never have.
Wow. Well, I tell you, in Georgia, on a station, and most high school football games or most high school athletic events, period, are broadcast on small community stations. You know, you're not going to see a lot of that on some, WSB in Atlanta isn't going to do a whole lot of that. WKWN in Trenton will do a whole bunch of that. And it feels to me like, and I know they base it off the population and everything else, but boy, they really make it tough on the operators at a lot of places to be able to cover the cost, let alone be able to make a profit because of what they charge.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of small systems, and I really didn't experience it until the quarterfinal playoff round. I went and covered. GHSA assigns members to help with playoff games, and I was assigned to run the Cartersville Bainbridge game this year. And when I was in the box, some of the guys in a similar line of work as you, they addressed those concerns as well. I think that's something that's going to have to be looked at because, we're a very diversified state from your rural single A's up to your major Atlanta schools. So we've got to make room for everybody in this broadcast and be fair to them.
Is there any talk, or has been there talk of, look, I mean, Metro Atlanta is a whole nother animal athletically, everything even. When you're talking about schools like Mill Creek and Brookwood and a lot of those kind of programs around Metro Atlanta compared to what you see, whether you want to come to North Georgia or you want to go south into South Georgia, the makeup, the population, and everything is just drastically different. Has there been some sort of, and I know classification solves some of this problem, but has there ever been talk about saying, look, maybe we have rural school, I don't know what you call it, maybe you don't call it rural school champions or metro champions, but a way to kind of separate some of this?
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion. And what we felt like this year, and this is going to sound like a cough-out, and it's not, it felt like all these other guys got up and swung for a home run and struck out. So we decided to just take what we could get this year and make it a better playing field. I didn't say level, but better. So we're hoping that if people like this, then we'll carry more support into the next 2-year session and make it a level playing field at that time. When you mentioned Brookwood and Mill Creek, I coached in that region for 5 years against those guys, and it is a different atmosphere. It's a different type of ball entirely than rural South Georgia or North Georgia football. So it's got to be addressed at some point.
Yeah, Coach. I mean, I've been to McEachern, and I've crawled around in more high school football press boxes than I'm willing to admit right now, but and a couple of college press boxes too. And I'm gonna tell you, you get into some of those schools like at McEachern and Mill Creek, and man, where they got just, they got more money and they know what to do with, honestly, when you start to look around at some of those facilities. You could put that facility at McEachern, man, that's as good as any Gulf South. And as far as that goes, it could compete with a lot of Southern Conference stadiums and facilities. I mean, that's first class. Yeah,
there are some stadiums around the state of Georgia that there is definitely a financial investment and commitment to those stadiums. When I was I was at Central Gwinnett High School. We were the Black Knights, and when I got there, they had built a castle for the press box. So they have a castle that's 3 stories high and an elevator for the press box. And I was like, man, you got to win some ball games. You're going to have a press box like this. So it was kind of funny. Everybody always asked about the castle. And then a few years ago, when Glenn Hicks was the basketball coach here, we're going down to play Greater Atlanta Christian on one of our really good basketball runs. And I was able to take the kids down there, let them see the castle, and let them shoot around in that gym before they played. So it was a fun trip just to go down there and let them see something a little different than the rural areas.
Now, when you talk about being on the executive committee for the GHSA, do you guys also handle the rules as well? Are there any rule changes you know about regarding football or baseball? Are there any rule changes that could possibly be coming?
The contact rules, all these days of Oklahoma board drills, hitting every day, 2 a day, those are gone. You're limited now. You cannot hit more than 2 days in a row, so you have to take your third day not off, but you're just hitting bags and running pass routes and things of that nature, running drills. Then you're limited in the amount of time, what's called full contact time, and what old coaches would call scrimmage amongst yourself. So you've got to list that now, and you've got to keep that on record for 1 year in case there's any litigation or whatever may arise from concussion.
How much of this, Coach, with what you're talking about, especially the limits on how much you can hit, how much contact you can have? And I understand why. I mean, this at the end of the day, nobody wants to be sued. I get it. I mean, they can, player safety, yada, yada. Look, nobody wants to be sued. I get it. But how much of this is related to the fact that kids are just bigger now?
They're bigger.
They're bigger. They're faster. They're stronger. They're all those things than they were 30 years ago when you did hit every day.
You're exactly right. And, I've had a concussion, or 2 or 3. And, people have concussions and things of that nature. What was going on, there was so much pressure to return to the field of play there, especially in the 1990s, early 2000s, that we noticed that some of this stuff was permanent because you're not letting that injury heal. It's a bruise. So you've got to let it heal. You keep rebruising, you're going to have some damage there. And so all this has stemmed from the NFL down to college and down into the high school level. So you're really looking at right now, there are some days that we only have 35 minutes of contact time, but it's defined, Chris, as full contact, what you would call thud up, quick whistle blow above the waist. And then you have what's called the controlled winner. And that means one guy is going to lose. He knows he's losing in the drill. And then you have, of course, hitting the bag. That doesn't count as contact time. You knock the stuffings out of the bag.
Coach, listen, before I let you go, I know I heard you say that you saw the Cartersville playoff game. Now, was that this year that you saw Cartersville?
Yeah, I got, I don't know, I guess I'm getting older now. I just go down and help somebody run a game, but I got assigned to run a football game for GHSA, and so I got to sit in the press box and see the Cartersville Bainbridge game and make sure that all the procedures and things were followed for a playoff game. Because when you get into that deep in the playoffs, you got to run something biased to affect the ball game. So you're there to keep everything as neutral as you can in their home environment.
What did you think about the quarterback at Cartersville?
Man, I've coached against some great quarterbacks. One of them this year at Dade, the kid from Greater Atlanta Christian, was phenomenal. He was a junior rising senior. The young man at Cartersville, when I saw him, my first thought was, I've seen a little better. Then I realized he was in 10th grade, and I said, no, I haven't. He's phenomenal. So that was my thoughts on him.
Yeah, I've seen, what is he, like 6'5" and about 200 pounds, and I had one of the guys with one of those services, I don't know if it was Scout or Rivals or 247, told me back during the summer he thought the kid at Cartersville, by the time he's a senior, he clearly could be and probably will be the number 1 player in the state of Georgia.
He very easily could be. In my opinion, he's a pro-style quarterback. He's not anything like the Gus Malzahn system or anything like that. He's mobile, but I wouldn't run him in that way. He looks like a Peyton Manning out there on the field. But I think today, Chris, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Florida offered him today.
Oh, really? I hadn't seen that yet. I hadn't seen that yet, but I know the kid. He's tremendous. He is tremendous. Listen, you got a Super Bowl pick before we let you go?
Man, I'm going to be with a fairy tale. I've followed Peyton Manning all my life watching him. I hope he goes out a winner.
Sounds good. Coach, I appreciate it. Thanks for the time, man. Good info today, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Thanks, Chris. Always a pleasure.
All right, man. Thank you. Bradley Warren, he's the football coach and the athletic director at Dade County, and giving you his thoughts on the GHSA reclassification and specifically how it affects Dade County, which really isn't much. If anything, it's for the better for Dade County. So I think that's a good thing, and did not know that he was on the executive committee there, so we can bend his ear about a few other things. By the way, before we go to this break, I got to do this because Alex sent me this a minute ago. We were talking about the fact that Super Bowl I has been broadcast on the NFL Network now, and they've been able to go back and kind of piece it together to get the full broadcast. And I told you there was a World Series game in either the 50s or the 60s that they found, and I couldn't remember exactly which celebrity that it was. Well, Alex did his homework. This story is actually like 5 years old now, about 5.5 years old. This is from the New York Times. It was in Bing Crosby. It was Bing Crosby. It was Bing Crosby's wine cellar. And it was the 1960s, a 1960s World Series. I did not know. I think I knew this, but I had forgotten it, that Bing Crosby was part owner of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He was too nervous to watch the series against the Yankees, so he and his wife went to Paris. I guess that's, you want to get away. Some people go to the mountains. Some go to Paris. But he went to Paris where they listened to it on the radio. I did not know you could listen to baseball on the radio in Paris, but hey. Anyway, he knew he would want to watch the game later if his Pirates won. So Crosby hired a company to record Game 7 of the 1960 World Series by kinescope, which is an early relative of the DVR. They filmed it off a television monitor. The 5-reel set was found in December of 2009 in Crosby's home, which it's the only known complete copy of the game. Pirates second baseman Bill Mazeroski hit the game-ending homer to beat the Yankees 10-9. It's considered one of the greatest baseball games ever played. And they go on to mention this article again from the New York Times. They mention the fact that the television networks and stations that aired the game originally erased or discarded pretty much all Major League Baseball games they carried up until the 1970s. That's the reason why finding so much footage from the 60s is so huge, and for that matter, going further back is so huge. I know they've done the same thing with in football. I think it was wasn't it the 59 game, Giants and Colts, when Alan Amici scores the touchdown in sudden death overtime. I think they've been able to piece that game together as well. I actually have a copy of it on DVD that I found somewhere that I think it was an eBay find, but they've been able to do it for that game and a few other games. I'm not sure if it's 100% complete or not, but I do know that they've been able to piece a couple of those things together. But that's what makes it so rare to be able to find those games, is because nobody saved it like they do now. All right, we come back. I talked about this a little bit last week. I thought we might try to do it last week if we got time. We ran out of time, so I want to get to it today. There's a new book out, and I don't have a copy of the book with me this week. I had it last week. It's written by a guy who is an NFL offensive lineman. He plays in the National Football League. Now, you just heard Coach Warren at Dade County talk about the hitting that goes on and the effects of it, and how kids today, they're just bigger. A lot of people want to look at high school football today and say, well, you know what, kids are soft because, back in my day, we did this and we did that. Well, I'm not going to sit here and say that, this video game generation and kids staying indoors as much doesn't have an effect on it. I certainly think that kids aren't as acclimated to the heat as maybe they were 30 years ago or even 20 years ago for that matter. But what a lot of people fail to realize is now we've gone from just in our area where the average offensive lineman, 20 years ago was maybe, 200 pounds, 215 pounds, maybe. Now you're talking about most schools, even small schools, will have a large portion of their offensive linemen go 230 and up now. And you get up into the 5 and 6A classifications in Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia. You get into those larger classifications now. These offensive linemen, they look like flipping small colleges from 20 years ago. Cam Newton is playing in the National Football League as a quarterback at 260 pounds. He weighs more than most of the starters on the offensive line for the Green Bay Packers in Super Bowl I. As a matter of fact, he weighed more than a couple of guys that were on the offensive line for the Washington Redskins, the Hogs, back in the 80s. So, because they had a couple of guys that were still in the 250s. So, guys have gotten bigger, they've gotten stronger, they've gotten faster, and that has had a lot to do with a lot of these rules that have been put in place. This book, though, we'll tell you more about it coming up in a minute. It's written by an NFL offensive lineman, a current NFL offensive lineman, who pretty much hates the National Football League. And he goes into all of it in this book. He does not write it under his real name. The book is written under his pen name, which is Johnny Anonymous. It was the weirdest interview I think I've ever done because he used a voice thing to be able to disguise his voice because this guy, obviously, he doesn't want anybody to know who he is. He called me from a number that was like a blocked number from somewhere. This is a very, very, it's an interesting look at the National Football League. We talked about it a little bit last week. I'm a huge fan of Jerry Kramer's book, Instant Replay, that he wrote about the 67 season, Super Bowl II, essentially, that season, the Ice Bowl against the Cowboys. I've always thought that was a fantastic football book and a great book about the National Football League. It is very PG rated, maybe even G rated today by standards. This book here is definitely R rated, so keep that in mind if you're thinking about picking it up. It's not for everybody, but it's a very interesting look at the National Football League. Johnny Anonymous, not Johnny Football, but Johnny Anonymous. He's going to join us next, and we'll bring you that interview as we continue on here. It's Game On. It's brought to you by Chattanooga State. Hang on.
A 1,000 people will win $1,000 every day at H&R Block.
Turn my music.
A 1,000 people win $1,000 every single day for a month. Get in on this.
Turn my music.
I will not lose.
It's refund season.
And Keaton invites everyone to the new Artsy Cafe across from Citizens Bank and Trust in Trenton. The Artsy Cafe features homemade sandwiches, soups, and salads. Start with a great breakfast menu at 6:30 a.m. Our menu includes fresh roasted coffee, served hot with a full line of espresso drinks, cappuccinos, lattes, and more. Satisfy your sweet tooth with a visit to our dessert bar, featuring over 25 different pastries, cakes, and pies. Call ahead at 657 Food. Open Monday through Saturday until 9. Make a stop at the gift shop on your way out at the Artsy Cafe. Meet your friends today at the Artsy Cafe.
A time-tested financial institution equipped with the latest banking technology. The Bank of Dade, with mobile banking to fit your on-the-go lifestyle. Download our latest app today for your iPhone, Android, or tablet to bank on the go. Check your balance, pay bills, make deposits, and keep track of your account anytime and anywhere with the Bank of Dade's smartphone app. Make life easier by using today's most advanced banking technology to your advantage. Call us at 657-6842 or visit on the web at bankofdade.com. Your hometown bank since 1956, the Bank of Dade. Main offices on Highway 11 North in Trenton, and drive-thrus on Highway 11 North and Highway 136 West. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Get big savings now with Tennessee Valley Net. Tennessee Valley Net's digital television, telephone service, and high-speed internet is now available in many areas of Dade County and expanding to other areas like Edgewood, Piney, Lake Hills, Sligo, and New Salem. Digital television packages are available, including over 200 channels. High-speed internet services with 30 meg upload and download available now from TVN. Residential and commercial packages are available. Call now to see if TVN is available in your neck of the woods. 706-657-4367 or visit tvn.net. It's back for a limited time at Guthrie's in Trenton. It's the buy four, get one more deal. Get it only at Guthrie's. Come on into Guthrie's and get your punch card and start saving. It's really easy. Buy 4 meals at the regular price, get your card punched, and get the 5th meal free. It's the buy four, get one more deal. Guthrie's, home of the golden fried chicken finger and the best chicken finger sauce in the world. Guthrie's, Highway 136 West in Trenton, home of those golden fried chicken fingers and the best chicken finger sauce in the world.
Guthrie's, not fast food, good food fast.
Morningstar Dry Cleaners, your local dry cleaners, located at 57 Crabtree Street, right behind Door Crisp Realty in Trenton. Morningstar Dry Cleaners offers a drop-off location for after hours and pickup service for businesses. We wash, dry, fold, iron, press, dry clean, and yes, we do alterations too. Now under new ownership, Morningstar Dry Cleaners. Open until 6 p.m. Monday through Friday for your convenience. Call them today, 657-3685. Morningstar Dry Cleaners on Crabtree Street, right behind Door Crisp Realty in Trenton.
All right, back on Game On here on KWN. Glad to have you with us this evening, wherever you may be joining us from. The author that we are about to talk to, the guy's name is Johnny Anonymous. Now, this book has kind of set the NFL on its ear a little bit, and it's got everybody trying to figure out who this guy is. As a matter of fact, they believe now there's a website that follows the Philadelphia Eagles that has done some digging around. Here's what we know about this guy, and you're about to hear the interview that I did with him. He's a fourth-year pro, became a starter in year 3 for an unspecified amount of time due to injury. 6'3", 279 pounds. He's a center. He's white. He plays on an NFL team where there's a diva wide receiver that got dropped for asking for too much money. A starting offensive lineman got dropped too because he's getting old and decided to retire. Another starting offensive lineman isn't dropped, he's getting old and is still Pro Bowl worthy. And he also says that he was one of the top linemen in the nation in college while playing for a major football school. And this website has they think they figured it out. Bleeding Green Nation is the name of the website, and they believe that it's a guy named David Malk, spelled M-O-L-K, who is a backup center for the Philadelphia Eagles. So for us, in our interview, he is Johnny Anonymous, and we had a chance to talk about a little bit about what it's like inside the NFL locker room.
Surrounding the National Football League, it's kind of maybe a better way to describe it would be the modern-day instant replay, the old Jerry Kramer book about the 67 season with the Green Bay Packers, where he kind of laid out a lot of stuff about what went on around the Packers back in 67. The difference was that book was a little bit edited, if you will, before it came out. This is an unedited look at the National Football League. It's called NFL Confidential, True Confessions from the Gutter of Football. The author of this book is a guy who is a 4-year offensive lineman for the National Football League. And rather than use his real name for several reasons, because of a lot of the things that he goes into detail about in this book, he writes under the pen name of Johnny Anonymous, and Johnny joins us here. Johnny, this book, your diary essentially of the 2014 season, what's your current status in the National Football League? Are you under contract right now?
I am active. I am an active player.
So you were under contract then through this past 2015 season?
Yes.
You say on the cover of this book that you blanking hate the NFL. if that's the case, why do it? Why do this?
It's an awkward feeling that I get, and it's something that it's a struggle for me to really stomach, because this game is so much to me. I mean, it means so much to me, and I truly do love the game of football. But there's something that's said when you're leaving college, and there's always some older player that comes up to you and puts his hand on your shoulder, and he gives you this really solemn look, and he says, cherish these times, because this will be the last day that you feel football or feel about football the same way you do now. The sense of team and the sense of camaraderie and the game that you love, the day you walk onto an NFL team, you'll never feel that again. And I'll tell you what, he was right. He was perfectly right. That first day, you realize quickly it's not the same.
What's the one thing you wish people knew about life in the NFL?
There's a lot of things I wish people knew about life in the NFL, and that's really where this book stemmed from, is one of those days where you look yourself in the mirror and you go, what am I doing? You know, someone's got to know about this, and there's everything from injuries leading to poor health later in life. You know, there's days I wake up in a cold sweat because I'm terrified that I won't know my grandkids' names and I won't be able to play with my own kids. There's the inhuman reality that fans don't see players as people. I mean, there's relationships and how players are treated and how this life really works, and the stress and anxiety that's actually manufactured so we are more stressed out, and we have a better relationship with stress in order to handle it better. There's a lot out there that just made me think I just want fans to know.
NFL Confidential is the name of the book, True Confessions from the Gutter of Football. It's written by Johnny Anonymous. He's protecting his identity and as well as his voice is altered for this interview. He's a 4-year offensive lineman in the National Football League. We've heard a lot about the NFL stance, Johnny, on domestic assault, crime, and drug use. You poked fun at going to these mandated meetings, these seminars that the NFL would have on these issues. Do they do enough within the league?
I mean, they tried. You know what the NFL did? They did enough to where they can go out in the media and said, hey, we told those guys. We told them. And that's where they wanted to be. But what do these meetings really consist of? I mean, you get a guy that goes up there and just tells us about how drugs and alcohol are bad. I mean, you've heard that same that same speech since you were, 12, 10? And I think the domestic violence one was even more laughable. You had coaches sleeping. And it's just how all these situations played out they are funny.
So if the league wants to get serious about it, what should they do?
That's what's hard, especially when you come to domestic violence and basically just violent behavior outside of football. It's hard because one of the things or qualities that it takes to be a great football player, or that you will see in many great football players, is they're just angry men. I mean, to the core, there's something in them. There's that hair trigger that they release that anger. I know I find myself within games tailoring to the nice, happy side of these guys so I can suppress that freakish anger that they have. And for these guys to get put out into the real world and to have to deal with things that may trigger that switch, it's hard. And the NFL really is in a tight corner with that thing.
NFL Confidential is the title of the book, True Confessions from the Gutter of Football. Johnny Anonymous is his name. He is an active NFL player that wrote this book, but protecting his identity. You talk in the book, Johnny, about when the Ray Rice situation, and it happened over that summer, but the ruling from the NFL came down at the start of the 2014 season. You talked in the book about you guys talking about that in the locker room. Since that time, now
Go ahead.
No, since that time, I think concussions have kind of become or come to the forefront. And this lawsuit, this class action suit that a lot of the former players have against the NFL and the effects that they have against concussions or the effects that they have from concussions that they now suffer with. How much did you guys talk about that in the locker room over the last year?
Concussions?
Yeah.
It's something that you always know, and we all understand as players, but I think you get pushed into a bad spot as a player because you'll get a concussion, and there's times in my career I've had something that probably it was a concussion, and you hide it. You always hide it. And there's guys that you'll see get in just disgusting hits, like they just shouldn't be alive kind of hits, and they'll come off and lie. And it's almost forced to do because we know as players that if you're deemed concussion prone, you're not going to be around. So it's we all understand it, we all know it, we all feel it. There's games where you get done and your forehead's numb and you don't want to talk or see anyone. You just want to go sit on your couch and drool on yourself to try and make it go away. But it's just it seems like an evil that we don't know what to do with.
How many concussions can you estimate the number of concussions you've had?
Reported or not reported?
How about not reported?
Well, there's the same number. Or I guess not the same number because I never would let anyone know anything. I think I've had 2 in my years, football. Not just in the NFL, but college also.
NFL Confidential is the name of the book. True Confessions from the Gutter of Football. Johnny Anonymous is the author of this book. Now that's obviously not his real name, but he's a 4-year offensive lineman in the NFL. He's written this tell-all, kind of a behind-the-scenes look, if you will, at the National Football League. Why all this secrecy, Johnny? You say you hate the game, or at least you hate the NFL. Why not be the guy who writes the dirty tell-all and then just walks away?
I don't know if I can walk away yet. And I get to the end of every season, and I think to myself, this is it. This is the last one. Let's be done. Let's go away. Let's stop the bleeding. But a couple months roll by, and before you know it, you want it again. And I don't know if I'm done yet. And it's a struggle every year to try and figure out, is this it, or do I do another one, or can I do another one, or can I think of a day without it? It's kind of a weird place because you just kind of get stuck. And the NFL and the game just holds you. That's why you see so many guys that just play and play and play and play. And even if they're not in the NFL, these guys keep going in arena leagues. And it's just, that's what happens.
With all the talk about concussions, and any injury for that matter, does the macho image in the National Football League of, hey, we're going to play hurt, you got to play hurt, I can't let anybody know what I'm dealing with, is that still prevalent?
As players, that's our biggest problem. Because we will get hurt all the time. I don't think you can make it through a week in the NFL without getting hurt, hurting something. And you don't want to tell anyone, because you have to be manly and just deal with it. Your coaches even say, "Oh, you'll be all right. Just rub some dirt in it." That thing is there. That's real. But you feel it. You always do. You always know something bad, and it's our problem because we want to internalize all these things, and And really, that's my fear is what's going to happen to me in the future. What will I do? What will I look like when I'm 35, 40? And really, the scariest thing is this article that Antoine Randall just put out, that he's 36 and can't walk down the stairs, and he can't remember what his wife tells him, and that's every fear that I have realized in one single interview.
Well, that's a cultural thing, isn't it? I mean, isn't that just the NFL culture that's been developed over the last 75 plus years? This is just how the game is.
Yeah, that's what they want you to be. They want you to play sick. They want you to play injured. They want you to, it's just, and it's not even necessarily someone telling you that. It's a self-affirmation of this is what I have to do because I am an NFL player.
How did you keep your teammates from knowing that you were working on this book, and now that this book is starting to come out, are you concerned that somebody may find out it was you?
I mean, you carry around a notebook every day to write plays and notes about the other team, and frankly, it was really easy to maintain a level of know-how for this book and write everything down and really the off-season is what you do to writing. And as far as players finding me out, I think that was one of the most fun parts about this whole thing is really you write out and then you paper and then you look at it and go, all right, how do we change it? How do I not look like me? And I think I've done a pretty good job because I haven't had, the real me has not had anyone come up to me.
Life is filled with choices. Will you choose to earn your merit badge? Or will you go up in flames? Sometimes we make bad choices. But one very smart choice is getting a degree from Chattanooga State, like one in engineering technology or one from our award-winning nursing program. Chat State is affordable and has the best job placement record in the region. Don't go up and smoke. Make the smart choice and choose Chat State.
The 2016 Fiat 500X has arrived, and it's ready to drive at Fiat of Huntsville. This perfectly bold crossover is impressively equipped with a turbocharged engine, seating for 5, available all-wheel drive, and just $249 a month or $4,000 off. Plus, you get customizable amenities like 5 different trim levels to perfectly match your style. Come experience the all-new Fiat 500X at Fiat of Huntsville or online at fiatusaofhuntsville.com, a Frank Williams dealership.
Thanks for being with us this week. Appreciate Johnny Anonymous for joining us again. Interesting look on the National Football League. You can pick a copy of that book up. It is available and it is in the newsstands now. It was just released last month, so you can still find a copy of it. Also, special thanks to Bradley Warren, the head football coach and athletic director at Dade County. He's been with us as well as we got a chance to talk a little bit about the reclassification involving Georgia high school athletics. That's going to do it for us this week. Special thanks as well to Alex for a job well done this week, and we'll invite you to join us again next Thursday. We're live every Thursday, 6 o'clock Eastern, right here on KWN TV. So we'll look forward to seeing you next week. We'll talk some more NFL football, a lot about Super Bowl 50 next week, and we'll try to take a look back at National Signing Day, which is coming up on Wednesday as well. Until then, have a great week and a great weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday. So long, everybody.